What's up, world? It's Katrina,
and Marlena, and this is Excess Baggage,
the podcast where two friends in their 30s unpack all of life's baggage. This episode, we will be unpacking mother wounds.
Okay, let's start the show.
Hey, girl.
Hello.
Oh, that was a very loaded hello. Lord, are you okay?
I'm good. You know, things try to take me out. Still I rise, still I rise. I would just leave it at that.
Okay.
I'm doing.
Okay. Well, and you're doing, what's the baggage for today?
Well, I just got back from I was gone for almost 2 weeks. When I was in New York, and it was fun. It was fun for the most part. I will say that, but
Good.
Just certain things. It's just, I guess my baggage today is I'm just so fascinated with the boldness of men, like some men, not, just out there, it is a different vibe, but even the person that I met, he, I don't know, I guess, lives in LA, but at the same time, still from the East Coast or Midwest, really. I don't know where this motherfucker from, but all I know is this. I just find it interesting that people are so bold when they're clearly married or clearly in other situations. I mean, I know that people have open relationships and people are free today. It's a different time. I'm not saying nothing about anything because I know how it is, but I just find it interesting when people don't even, I guess they don't present themselves as a certain way.
So it's not that the person said, hey, I'm in this open situation, but I'm interested in you. They just didn't share that they're in
They didn't share nothing. And of course, I'm no dummy. I'm not, but I just find like oh man, it's bold to me. It's very bold. And I don't even know if they think that they're living dangerously or they think they're like, oh, I'm just going to try this out and see what happens. Like, no, I think this is a regular thing. Yeah. I feel like it's a regular thing in much of the dating world. A lot of people are attached to other people and they don't come correct. They don't say like, yeah, this is what it is. They just present themselves as being single.
Right.
And so I just don't know why the line of communicate, like we don't know each other. Right. So like, you don't know the type of person that I am. And if that's even something that I would be interested in even doing.
Sure.
And if you don't give me that up front, then already I'm looking at you sideways.
Right.
Like I can't trust anything. You know what I mean? Not that I'm looking to trust you when I first, obviously, but I don't know you.
Can't move forward if I can't trust you to at least acknowledge where you're at.
Right. So
how'd you find out?
I mean, it was blatant. It wasn't like they were trying to hide it, is what I'm saying. They weren't trying to hide it, but they never said anything about it. I just saw them wearing, they never said anything about it. I just saw them wearing a ring, but I didn't know again, and I'm rusty, not to put my business out there, but I haven't been out there in a long time like that. And so that's not my first initial thing. Like, I'm not staring like, oh, let me look at his hands. Like, is he married? I would think if someone's approaching you and trying to talk to you, that like, they would be at least smart enough not to do that if they were trying to get one over on you. Right. But maybe that's a part of the game too. Like and I've heard men say that like, oh, women are way more attracted to you when they know that you are married. Because it shows that you can commitment.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
not over here.
That's not what it is.
Because that's not really commitment if you over here talking to me, sir.
Exactly.
Unless that's y'all agreement.
Exactly.
And then I don't come with that information.
Exactly. And I don't know nothing. That's what I'm saying. I don't know nothing. Maybe they do have one. I don't know. I'm not privy to that information. But yeah, man. And just not even that just situation. It's just that, and other people, when you meet people and then they don't, they're trying to be funny, but I don't know. I had an interesting situation, but they're trying to be funny, which is it's almost like a sandbox thing a little bit, where it's like, I don't know, like maybe
I'm hitting you because I like you.
Right. Or
I'm
maybe
pull your hair because I think you're cute.
Or maybe I don't remember your name, so I'm just gonna keep calling you Inglewood. Shit like that. Which to me is like,
no.
Maybe, first of all, no. But maybe I don't want everybody in this motherfucker to know where I'm from. You ever thought about that?
No.
Like, no, nothing about that to me is cute. That's like me. That's like you saying light skin. What's up, light skin? How you doing? Light bright? You good, light bright?
I ain't heard that one in a minute.
You know what I mean?
That's how I know I ain't been outside in a while.
That to me, that's the same shit. That's the same shit.
That's annoying.
So I don't know. But the funny thing about this is this. I'm going to let you in on a little secret. I see you and I raise you. And that's all I got to say about that. For real.
Game recognized game.
That's all I'm saying. Game recognized game. That's all I'm saying.
I respect that. I like that. As long as it don't get messy, because shit be getting messy.
Yeah, exactly. I don't want no messy shit. Never. So I've been there. I've been there and I'm not going back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, thank you.
Period.
No, thank you. Keep your messiness to yourself.
I don't know. Anyway, it was interesting.
Sounds like it.
It was interesting.
Quite an adventure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
okay.
Okay. Well, thank you for that baggage today. Thank you for sharing those stories. I was like a little drama.
Just a little
drama.
I mean, no, there was never any drama. Trust me, there was never any drama, but it was just interesting. Messiness. It's messy. It's definitely messy. Where you're just like, oh. What do we have? What do we have here? That's where I was at. What do we have here?
What the hell is going on over here?
Anyway, what's your baggage? Yeah. I will. Like, I will.
Hilarious. What is my baggage today? I feel like there's so much. So yesterday. Yeah, was it yesterday? It might have been the day before yesterday. One day this week, we'll say, because I don't even know what day it is anymore. I found myself just feeling very agitated with people for lack of communication. And I'm in that space, I think today, still like less so because it's not happening as much, but like it was just like several days of people just not communicating what's happening. And I'm just like, what are we adults here? Can we use our words? Like, can we please use our words? And like, some of it is like business stuff. Like, we're supposed to be having a meeting and you don't tell me that you can't show up for the meeting. So I'm waiting and you ain't there kind of deal. I have to like reach out to you last minute and figure out and don't hear back from you for days because you couldn't show up. Some of it is on like the family side with people not communicating like where they're going to be and what's happening, and like family plans are being made. And I feel very like frustrated that I'm not being informed that certain plans are being created, especially when it's big plans, like people coming into town and things of that nature. Just all kinds of stuff, just people just not communicating. And I start to get to the point where I'm like, okay, is it me? Am I not listening? Am I missing something? Like, what's going on? And then I just get to a point where I'm like, no, this is y'all. Like, this is really, really y'all. But then I'd be mad. Like, what's the problem? What is the problem? And so I don't know. Sometimes I have to sit back and think about it because maybe my expectations are too high. Maybe, I don't know. I really don't. But I'm just, if you're not communicating, just don't talk to me right now. Like, don't come to me for nothing. Don't plan nothing with me. Like, don't, I I don't have the capacity for it. It just frustrates me and I just want to get rid of people. Like, you know what? It's fine. We don't need to have this meeting ever. It's fine. You didn't show up. We don't need to do this ever. And that's not the best way of dealing with it. People make mistakes, things happen, but it's frustrating. And I recognize that because it's happening in so many areas of my life that I'm frustrated and everybody's getting the like wrath because it's happening in so many areas. But that's where I'm at right now. So yeah. If you need to deal with me at any point in time in the next couple of weeks, come with your words because I'm ready to just drop things and people.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Communication is hard. People don't know how to use their words. They don't. I think we did a whole episode on people using their words, when it came to like the amateur hour of silent treatment and stuff like that.
Right.
And, I don't know. I just pray for them and move on. What can you do? What can you do? Like, people are only going to move at the pace and speed as which they're going to they're accustomed to or what they want to do. So I am not rushing. I'm not doing nothing. Like that we can communicate or we don't have to communicate. But if we communicate, I'm always going to talk about what's real and what's actually happening. Because if we're not doing that, then what are we doing?
Right. And I think my biggest issue with it is like, I always have to check myself when I use the word disrespectful. I feel like Black folks use that word for everything. Like everything is disrespectful to Black folks. So it feels, if I choose another word, if I use more language than just disrespectful, it just does not feel like it honors my needs or my time or my energy, right? And so it's like,
I was gonna say, side note, I do like saying that. I'm gonna take it as disrespect.
right. And that's what we say about everything. Everything.
I'm gonna take it personal. I'm gonna take it personal.
Right. I don't think it's personal all the time. I don't think it's personal majority of the time, if I'm being honest with myself. But it's hard in that moment not to feel that way because I'm like, yo, like I just spent 15 minutes waiting on your ass and because you didn't communicate beforehand, I could have been doing something else. I didn't have to be here. I could have been doing something else. I could have made other plans. I made my plans around this particular thing that was happening or the lack of that thing happening if you didn't communicate it was happening. Then like I have to make last minute arrangements because you didn't communicate. Like I think that's the part that gets me. It's like, okay, I get it. We all make mistakes. We all move at our own pace or whatever, but alert me to what the pace is so I know how to move. Like,
no, I
alert me to what's going on so I know how to move. Because otherwise, I'm still on the hook here. Like, I'm still kind of in waiting and you ain't communicating. And that's frustrating.
Very.
And it's hard not to take that personal in a moment when you're like, damn, I could have been doing something else.
I take a lot of things personal. I've been really trying to work on it. I really have been trying to work on it, but it is really hard because I feel like my life is very personal to me.
Absolutely.
It's personal to me. So
Absolutely.
yeah, I might have a reaction or yeah, I might feel some sort of way about something, but because it did affect me and I'm not going to lie about how it affected me either. And that to me is why the birth of this show came out because I mean, literally people are walking around. Yeah. With the baggage that, sometimes created on their own, of course, but definitely could be forged from some other shit of people not expressing how they really feel or what's really going on. And it's tiring.
Absolutely.
It really is. And it can drain you. And that's what I'm trying my best to even have a platform like this to talk about stuff like this and just in general within my life, and I hope that this can be effective for other people too, because it is a big thing, especially amongst I don't even say just amongst this generation, but definitely the generations before, because they definitely don't want to talk about their shit.
They don't want to talk about shit.
They don't want to talk about their shit. And they think
They
that,
don't want to talk about their shit, but they also don't even recognize that they have shit a lot of the time.
and they think that we're either creating shit by talking about it.
Right.
And I'm like,
or they think that we're just really sensitive.
Which is,
my grandma used to say that all the time. Y'all just so sensitive. I'm like, no, like you're hurtful. You say hurtful things to people.
Right. And words mean things, as Crystal and Kid Fury always say on the read. Like, words mean things. It's fucking true. They do.
Yes,
like
yes.
they do. Your actions have effects on other people. Like,
absolutely.
We're all fucking living in this fucking world. It's not just you. And that's why when people are like, when I hear people say certain things like, oh yeah, there are a lot of selfish people walking around. And I don't mean selfish as in like, oh, I'm in the business of Katrina, or I'm the business of Marlena, but just selfish to like, they don't realize, or they could realize, but most of them don't realize that their actions affect others. They're not operating on that emotional level.
Right.
They're just not.
They're just caught up in their own world.
Yeah.
Which does not work.
No.
If everybody's caught up in their own world, that's how we end up in situations where folks don't communicate.
Boom.
And it came full circle.
Anyway. Today's topic, we're talking about mother wounds.
And it's gonna be a doozy.
Like, what are mother wounds and how do you know you have them?
I would say, and I just want to be clear that this is Katrina answering, not Katrina the therapist, okay? Because
Lord.
I just want to be clear, this is not an official definition. I didn't get it out of nobody's dictionary, nobody's book.
Okay, got it. All right. We're here. We're here.
It's just me showing up, okay? I would say mother wounds are experiences that you have had with a mother figure. Doesn't even have to be like your biological parent, but a mother figure that were hurtful to you at any stage of life, I would say. I would say a lot of people would experience them at a younger age, which is why they become more of a wound. Because they often will not heal, or they often kind of repeat themselves, or are things that we end up protecting ourselves from later. And how do you know that you have them? That's a hard one. I think for some people,
are you breathing? I feel like I think we all have them. I think
that's true.
I don't think any parental relationship is perfect. I really don't.
Absolutely not.
I know people have love for their parents and they love their parents deeply, but we're also talking about flawed human beings.
Absolutely. No, I agree with that. I think we all have them to some degree, but how do you know? Because I would say I didn't know that I had them until I was in therapy, probably the last handful of years of therapy, where we were talking about some stuff that wasn't even, it was more my father wounds that we were talking about, but it was the way in which my mom was managing those situations that I didn't realize I was also internalizing, like how she was showing up when my stuff was going on with my dad was also a wound. And I didn't know that for many years, like for most of my life until the last handful of years, did not recognize that, like, I felt really hurt by her because of the ways that she showed up. And that was like a revelation for me because we've always, well, I wouldn't say always. We definitely had our stuff, especially during my teenage years. But I feel like we've had, for the most part, a really decent relationship. So while I think everybody has them, I think how do you know that you have them? I think that can go a lot of different ways for different people. But I think there are clear-cut signs. If like there were repetitive patterns with your mom, there's probably some form of wound there.
For sure. For sure. And I think for me, it has always been a certain type of behavior.
Absolutely.
That I have always just chopped up to that's just the way it is.
Yeah.
Just how most people will deal with any family,
Right.
anything,
We
because
normalize
it's,
it.
yeah, because it's your family. But I think how did I know I have them is because of an overcorrection.
Mm.
It's because I so much did not want to do that that I probably went in a very, very like, okay, I'm not going to do this. And I'm not going to end up, feeling like this or, but at the end of the day, I guess the growth part for me would be the fact that I'm like, okay, no, like it could very well just happen because life happens. You can, you know what I mean? Because life happens,
Yeah.
you deal with it the way that you deal with it, and you might not even recognize that you might be doing some of the same things that you're saying that you
Yeah.
desperately don't want to do, um
Absolutely.
until, like you said, until you're in therapy, or until you're at that point in your life where like, okay, look, I don't want to learn the lesson too many more times. Like
Right.
I want to get it, like,
Right.
it's like a driving test almost, like you're like, look, I know I'm gonna get something wrong. I know
Mm-hmm.
that I am, but like, can we get to the point where it's just like, nah, like I passed
Like we're
and
good.
we're good. Like
Yeah.
I'm at least 90% the way there, because
Right.
some of that percentage like can end up, having you waste a lot of time. And I think that's been my biggest thing, is this time that I look back at relationships and things that I've done. And, you know, um, your mother, I feel, your father, of course, is your protector, but I feel like in most situations, everyone has a different situation, but the mom is usually the primary, right? Sometimes, yeah, there's definitely single dads, but I'm saying, like, if we're talking about just like,
I mean, even just physically, that they
yeah,
are the
physically,
nurturer.
they're the
They're the ones
nurturer. They're the one that's like,
who grow us.
yes, thank
Quite
you.
literally.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And so if there's any type of betrayal, and I don't even want to say betrayal, but if there's any type of rockiness
Right.
in that, in during those growth periods, that can shape you for the rest of your life.
Absolutely.
And so
Absolutely.
it's your job, I guess for me, it's just like, it's my job. It's like, as much as I'm like, oh no, I don't want to do this, I also need to recognize, like, look, she's a person, she has her shit. I'm a person, I have my shit. So what am I going to do with my shit? How am I going to make this, the best that I can?
Right.
And
How am I going to move through this and be able to be in the world from a different place
right.
and
Because
care for myself and nurture myself in the ways that maybe I didn't get and needed. But now I have to show up for myself in those ways. I think you make a really good point. Like sometimes you know that you have a wound because of how you are adjusting. If the way that you are behaving or choosing behaviors is based off of, I don't want to do that, then there's probably a wound there,
hmm
right? Also, if you have like feelings and emotions about your mom that don't feel so good or aren't very positive, then there's probably some kind of wound there as well, right? Not to say that you always have to like your mama, but there's probably some kind of wound there. And I think a lot of it is about safety, mental, physical,
hmm
emotional, spiritual safety. Like if there were moments when your mom did not show up in a way that allowed you to feel safe or created space for your safety, then it probably created some type of wound, right? And wounds look very different for everybody.
Oh, definitely. Because
And they are bigger and smaller depending on who you are, what other people you had in your life, what age you were at, what
Oh,
exactly
definitely.
happened.
Exactly what actually happened, because, I would say my mom has shaped the way that I communicate.
Mm-hmm.
Just the way that I even communicate with others, like, I know that there's some parts that are not the greatest.
Sure.
And I try to like work on them as much as I can. A lot of, the people that are in my life probably wouldn't even really know that,
Mm,
because that is something that I have worked on a lot. But like, there's in certain situations where I'm like, okay, I need to take a chill pill. I need to calm down. I need to not make a scenario, you know, in some scenario, in some cases, making the scenario worse than what it needs to be. And that
Right.
has kind of crafted the way that my lifestyle is. I
Right.
try not to like I said, I'm really working on not taking things personally,
Right.
because that is, I mean, it just doesn't do good for anyone, really.
Right.
It just doesn't in that scenario,
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
you're just both going to be miserable.
Right.
And that is the one thing I'm striving more and more each day as, I continue to be here, is to not be miserable. That is
Right.
my, not that I am, but you know what I mean? I'm striving to make each day even better,
Right.
So, because shit, if you let that shit, whatever shit that is, creep in for too long, you can't find yourself in this situation where it's this, not even woe is me, but just not wanting to experience new things. Not even,
Right.
you know what I mean? Because you're so consumed or concerned about this one thing or several things or whatever the thing is.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think it's important to be mindful of that. And so like I know people who well into adulthood are still blaming how their relationship with their mother was as children as a child, still blaming their mother for how they show up today as an adult, as a parent, like all of those things. And I get it because yes, it does impact you and it can impact you for the rest of your life. But at the same time, it's your job. Like you said, it's your job to say, okay, this is what my mom did that I didn't care for. How am I going to shift that? How am I going to change that? But I think some of that begins with not continuing to mirror this trauma that they've put you through or mirror whatever stuff that they hadn't healed by healing yourself, by going forth and getting some healing for yourself. And a lot of times we just end up passing down the same wounds because what I find really fascinating is when there is a history, a family history of the same mother wound. Like we're just passing down that same wound. And it doesn't just have to be mothers, but like it could be fathers, all of that. But like when it's the same wound from the women in the family just being passed down, like that's deep. And at what point is somebody going to look up and go, oh, wow, we should stop doing this? This does not feel good.
Yeah.
Let's shift.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm telling you, and that generational shit is real.
It is.
It's real. And so I'll be damn, okay? I'm trying to right. I am definitely trying to stop it in its tracks,
Right.
Even if I fall down a million times, I'm still going to get back up. I am not going to do that same shit. And
Right.
especially if I also want to have kids.
Right.
And that's the biggest thing for me. It's like I want to get myself right even more because I want to be a whole person when I welcome another person into this world. And I know that I can't control that. You know what I mean? I can't control that. I can get pregnant in a week. Who knows? I mean,
You do your best.
stranger things have happened. Not
Right.
saying that would happen, but I'm just saying you never know. You're never fully prepared, but I'm going to do everything in my damnedest to try to get there. At least,
Right.
at least try to get there because they didn't ask to be here.
Right. And we don't want to pass on the same hurts that we experience to our children
No.
and to generations that come after us. And I think it's important I really think it's important that people before they become parents take some time to do the healing that they need to do around healing in general, but especially around the dynamics that happen in their own households growing up.
I 100% agree because and I'm not talking about just women, men too.
Yeah,
I've had
everybody.
men that have problems with their mother, and the saying of them always saying like, oh, always pay attention how a man treats his mother. How's the relationship? Always pay attention, to the relationship a man has with his mother. And, if it's a good one or if it's a bad one or if it's, what is it like? And I'm like, that shit is real. And I'm not even talking about not even so much how he treats you, because yes, of course, that could definitely mirror, but it's just how he communicates with women.
Right.
You know what I mean? That alone tells you what type of relationship or how he feels about his mother. So I definitely think people should should try to
deal with your shit.
deal with it, and I don't know. I don't even know if, and I don't even know. I know, of course we say therapy. Of course we say that because we believe in it. But at the same time, it's like, I know so many people that are so anti-therapy.
Right.
That it's like, okay, is there other solutions? You know what I mean? Is there ways for them to deal with that unaddressed trauma that they're witnessing?
I think there's always additional solutions. I don't think therapy, says the therapist, I don't think therapy is the only answer to everything. I think therapy also has to be in conjunction with other things as well. Like, it can't just be by itself. Therapy can't operate by itself. I think self-reflection, really getting clear with yourself about what the feelings and emotions are that you have, what the wounds are, where they came from, how it impacts you, the way that it has shifted the way that you operate in the world, in relationships with yourself, with friends, at work, like whatever it is, like getting really clear with yourself and really being reflective about what that looks like, determining like where all of that came from. If you have a parent who is open and you can have those conversations, sometimes having the conversation is helpful. I sat down and had a conversation with my mom and was like, I realized that I have been really like hurt and angry with you in ways that I did not realize, because these are the ways that you showed up. And that really didn't feel good to me. And what was, I think, really interesting and powerful about that conversation, of course, it did not feel good to her. It hurt her feelings, but it was also, it gave her the ability to share with me some things that I didn't know. Right. And so she was able to share with me, like, well, I didn't show up in that way. And I showed up that way in front of you, but here's how I was also showing up behind closed doors with your father when y'all were going through y'all really tough times. And it was like, oh, like I didn't feel like she was participating and like helping and like assisting me along the way, but she carried me in a lot of ways, and she was carrying the mess in a lot of ways that I didn't know and didn't understand. And so sometimes we internalize things, just like we talked about earlier. It's not even ours to internalize, but because we're children, a lot of the times when we're younger, especially, we only are able to think from our own perspective. Literally, as children, like that is how your brain works. So when those things happen at a young age, you internalize it as being about you. And so I did. I internalized it about being about me. And it wasn't. There were so many other things that were happening that I wasn't aware of, that I didn't get to see, that I wasn't privy to. And so if you have the opportunity to have those conversations, your parents going to be open and willing, then do. If not, maybe you just write a letter, whether you send it or not. Or if they're not even still living or on this earth in some way, shape, or form where you can have contact with them, you got to get it out some kind of way. You got to recognize it, get it out of your system, face those emotions, deal with it, honor the emotions, but then also like start to make shifts. Like, how has this impacted me? Like, is it impacted how you show up with your girlfriends? Do you have rocky female relationships because you don't trust your mama? So you don't trust women? Like, okay, so how are you going to start to shift that? What does that look like? Are you going to start like...
but see, that's like, that sounds good. Of course, you would want a person, but it's just like, the only time, like you said, is if they want to do it, because a lot of people like, don't want to do it.
Everybody can't. And if you can't, then you just can't. But you still need to get it out. Write it down, have a conversation with somebody else, go to therapy. Like there are other ways of getting it out. It doesn't have to be directly with that person. You can write them a letter and burn it if you wanted to. Like, but you got to get it out of your system. You can't just sit with it. Right? It's
Yeah.
recognizing what it is and getting it out of your system. Communicate it in some way, shape, or form. Record it for yourself on a little, voice note. Write it down in your journal. Do a ceremony and, write down all the feelings that you have about your mama and burn them. Like, I don't like figure out what works for you. But if you have the privilege of being able to have that conversation with your mother, do so. And if you don't, you still got to find a way to get rid of it.
Yep. Or it's gonna eat you alive. No, just kidding.
Pretty much so.
I know, but I don't want to laugh at that, but it might. And
might.
that and that is a scary feeling to not, that I can only imagine because granted, I haven't been down that dark of a path before. But I can only imagine what that's like to be so unattached from your feelings. I can't because I feel, I wish I could turn some off. You know what I mean? And I do in my own way, of course, but I can't imagine what it would be like to be completely just like, you know what I mean? Not deal with it and just continue on in, being, like I said, in misery.
I agree. And I don't think you have to be in misery just because you're not dealing with it. I think what happens a lot of the times is we're so busy pushing through, we don't even realize that it's there because there's just so much other shit that we're dealing with. Like, and you don't have to be miserable, but it might be impacting other parts of your life that don't feel good to you.
Right.
But
You're
that
right.
doesn't mean you're miserable.
Right. You're right.
Like you might be sitting here like, why can I not have decent relationships with women? Like, why are all my female relationships trash? What is that about? And come to realize like you have issues with women because of your relationship with your mama, but you don't know that and you're not miserable. You're just having a hard time with female relationships.
I don't know. I feel like, and again, I think it's just me because I'm just like, if it's, I don't want it to be hard. Of course, of course it's gonna be hard. You know what I mean? Everything takes work, but
Absolutely.
like, I mean, you know what I mean? I don't want it to be like, oh, each time I'm going on this roller coaster again and I still don't know. You know what I mean? Like I would want to try to figure it out. And so I think you're right. Like you have to get it out. Like there's no other way around it, and it you might not be miserable, but it really can have an effect on certain things. And
Absolutely.
you have to choose whether or not those things are important to you. Now, if you don't give a damn and it is what it is, then I mean, by all means, it is what it is. But like, if you do, or you feel like, or even if you don't give a damn today, but maybe in a couple years, you will give a damn. That doesn't mean just completely just go off the rails. I don't agree with that.
Yeah.
At least try to take, I feel, some sort of step. You know what I mean? Something.
Yeah.
It don't have to be, the greatest things or thing, but like something. You know what I mean? You have to have something. Shift. You got to have a shift, or you got to shift, or just have something to build on. At least have something to build on.
Build a different foundation for sure.
Yeah.
And I want to acknowledge too that having a mother wound does not mean that we have to dislike or hate or even be mad at or angry at our mothers. Like it doesn't, like you can still love your mother and have a lot of compassion for this person and think that this person did so much greatness for you and still have a wound there. Because like you said, like everybody is flawed. Nobody is perfect. And I think a lot of times I see that with Black women, especially, but even Black men too, but in therapy, like where they're like, oh, but like I love my mom. Like I love her. Like she did the best that she could. Yes. And in doing the best that she could, there were some things that did not feel good to you. And I think it's important to recognize that like having a mother wound doesn't mean that like you're being disrespectful to your mama. It just means that there were pieces of your upbringing with her in your dynamic that didn't feel good.
Yeah, it's true. Unless I just say it does depend on the wound.
What do you mean?
It depends on the situation, I do feel. Like, yeah, I don't of course, you don't hate your mother. No, but I'm saying I could see how someone could get to a point where it's like,
Oh, I'm
no.
not saying that there aren't people who don't hate their mothers because of their wounds. Absolutely not. What I'm saying though is I think a lot of us convince ourselves that we don't have wounds with our mothers because they showed up for us, they did all of these great and wonderful things for us, or because we believe we're supposed to love and care for them and honor them and all of these things, and to say that they did anything wrong would be disrespectful in some way, shape, or form because she took care of me, and especially if it was a single mom or something like that. Like, I'm not saying, like, there are people who obviously, whatever the situation was, you have every right to whatever your feelings are, but I also want people to understand that loving your mother and acknowledging that your mother hurt you can both happen at the same time.
For sure. No, I agree 100%. Yeah.
And that shit's heavy.
I know. That's why I was like, oof, it is
That
heavy,
shit's heavy.
but it's realistic.
Yeah.
Because that's the one thing. It's just like, I don't want to lie about it.
No.
If it happens, and like you said, like, that's great that you will be able to have a conversation with your mom, and hear other things, because some people, like you said, they don't have that option, and they could just walk around with it, and like you said, sometimes not even, can be completely oblivious.
Right.
But I love my mama. I love my I have, two moms, so to
Right.
speak. So I love both of them, but,
Yeah. But they had their shit.
they had their shit, and knowing what I know about them both, I can see how they would have their shit.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? It's not something that I'm just like, what? No, I can completely see. So, there's definitely empathy there. So there's no judgment.
Right.
I just, there really is no judgment. It's just like these things happen and I have to make sure that, like, I get it together.
So I don't continue the cycle.
Yep.
And that's that.
We'll get you some damn therapy, y'all. Damn.
Goodness. But for real. I'm glad that we talked about this though, because I don't think that there's enough conversations about mother wounds. I think especially in the Black community too, but I think overall we demonize men so much in society a lot of the time when it comes to like absent fathers and that kind of stuff.
They're like the poster boys. You know what I mean? They got
so there's this, like, I don't know, there's this narrative that like you're supposed to love your mother and your mother is the greatest person in the world because they gave birth to you and like all of this stuff. And it's like, no, that's not real. Like, they are just as flawed as our fathers and ourselves and all of that. And it's important that we talk about that and acknowledge that you can also have wounds from your mama or whoever your mother figure was.
Yep. So true. I mean, but just think about it. They did give us life. So it's like, yeah, I mean, pretty much everything is affected. I feel like if
Absolutely.
they, you know what I mean? If they weren't doing the right things when when you're pregnant or, not taking care of you properly or whatever the case may have been, like, yeah, that's it from the beginning. There's always going to be a possibility for there to be, some shit.
Absolutely. Yep.
It's a great responsibility.
Yep. And they're learning and growing because they are helping you to learn and grow. And so they gonna fuck it up a little bit or a lot of bit.
Yeah, it's possible. It's possible.
Goodness. But shout out to those of us who are doing the work, who are recognizing the wounds, who are healing the wounds, who are determined not to continue the cycles. This shit is hard, but it's good work.
Amen. Amen. It really is. It is hard, but somebody got to do it.
Right. And it's going to pay off in the end. It's
Can I
already paying off.
right. Can I get an amen?
Right.
It's like, I think it is paying off. I think it really is.
Yeah,
So
it's shifting the way that we, at the very least, engage with ourselves and engage with our mamas. So that's a good
mhm.
place to start.
Yep.
All right, y'all. This next segment is called Roses. Marlena, who you want to give your rose to today?
Well, I'm not sure when this episode is going to come out, but I do know today is my friend Simone's 34th birthday. And I just wanted to shout her out and, tell her that I love her and that I'm so proud of the person that she's been working towards being,
Mm,
because I would say if I out of all of my friends, I would say she's the most in touch with her, emotions, even when it is rough,
hmm
even when there's drama attached or whatever the case may be. It's like she really is like that earthy, like when I tell you that earthy friend, like it's like, yeah, she's in touch with all of that. And so, it is easy for somebody to just be like, yeah, I'm not going to deal with it, or I don't want to deal with it. But I've always find that she's so strong in those moments,
mm,
even when it fucking sucks. So,
right.
I just want to recognize her and say, I see you shining, queen, and I'm so proud of you, and keep doing what you're doing and being your best self. And
Happy birthday.
happy birthday, man. Just, turn up one time. I wish I could be there with her tonight, but I can't. But I know we're gonna celebrate real big when I can. And yeah, it's gonna be fun times. I mean, I've known her. Her mother has been on an episode on this show, Diana.
Mm,
And I've known her since the 6th grade.
wow.
Yeah, so it's been a long journey. And I'm glad that I have her by my side through it all. So shout out to her. So, Katrina, who are you going to give your rose to today?
I am going to give my rose to my acupuncturist. I think I've shared on here before the stomach issues that I've been having and not being sure what my body is reacting to, what's happening, but just having a lot of just stomach stuff that the damn doctors haven't been doing much about. Um, so shout out to my acupuncturist because in the midst of all of this, she was able to run some blood tests for me to figure out what exactly is happening. Um, so the blood tests were food sensitivity tests that the doctor didn't want to run because it's not a full blown allergy, which I think is the dumbest shit ever. But the acupuncturist ran them. Turns out I'm having reactions to a lot of things right now. And some of that we're hoping is just because my body is just really inflamed because things are off the charts in certain areas. But I just really appreciate the amount of work and dedication, the consistency that is coming from her and the work that we're doing together because it has been miserable. Not feeling like I can eat a lot of the time, not feeling hungry, not feeling good after I eat. All of those things are not fun for me. So to have someone who is working really diligently with me to get these things under control, to figure out what the hell is going on so we can get it under control. She officially has me on a herb regimen, started this week. So I feel hopeful that things are going to start to get better. I know it's going to be a minute and it's already been a minute, but I just appreciate that. I just appreciate having holistic practitioners in my life who step outside of this Western medicine model and are like, no, you're uncomfortable. We need to do something about this. Let's run some tests in the places where the doctors would not. So shout out to her because I don't know. It makes me feel hopeful. The herbs may never work. It may be something completely different, but just the fact that like we found some things that are happening in my body that we can work on and we're going to work on them, it makes me feel more hopeful than just being like, well, we don't know.
Shout out to her because that's a lot, man. That's a lot for real.
It has been a lot. And it's been almost 6 months that I've been having this issue. So.
Well, I will say my favorite word that you said was consistent.
Yes.
We need a lot of more consistency. That it's just not a thing anymore, actually.
Right.
So I mean that I would say, yeah, I'd be grateful for that.
Yeah. Consistency and just like hearing me. Cause I feel like with the doctors, it was like, oh, well, you're not in pain. You're just uncomfortable now. Like the pain went away. You're just uncomfortable. Yeah, but I still am uncomfortable and I shouldn't be uncomfortable every time I eat. Like that's not reasonable. Like y'all need to figure out what the fuck is going on. Cause I wasn't uncomfortable every time I ate 6 months ago. Like something's happening in my body that doesn't feel good. Y'all need to figure that shit out. And for her, it was like, oh, you're uncomfortable. We need to figure this out. It's good that the pain is decreasing, but the discomfort is still very much there. And it's impacting your ability to function. Let's do something else about this. So I just appreciate her. And I know that's her job, but I appreciate her taking the journey, becoming an acupuncturist, following that calling, and being able to be present in my life in this stage when I need her.
I need you, adore you, gotta have you.
Yes, all of that.
All of that.
All of that. Well, that was another episode of Excess Baggage.
Follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Excess Baggage Pod. That's Excess Baggage POD. Be sure to like, subscribe, and review on a podcast app and Spotify.
And remember to pack light and keep it tight.
Faux show.